Hello, I'm here to review your community school project for ED551, Foundations of Bilingual Education. So as you may know, the main assignment for this course is what I'm calling the Community School Research Project. For this project, you will investigate immigrant origin communities and how schools can serve their needs. There are a few components to this assignment, which is large and extends throughout the whole semester. One part is an interview, observation, or survey evidence, which is basically so that you can collect data to better understand a community. Another one is a group presentation to present about the community and argue for how schools can better serve the needs of the community. And attached to that is a reflection paper to summarize what you learned from the project and support this with research. So one idea that we need to understand for this community is the idea of this project is the idea of an ethno-linguistic community. Each student will be assigned to an ethno-linguistic community, and this term refers to a group of people who share a common language or set of languages, a common place of origin, and a shared sense of identity. So we can kind of think about this is a sort of complex idea because communities can have different kinds of meanings and boundaries. Um, you may be assigned to kind of related ethno-linguistic communities that can be compared or contrasted in your project. And of course, even if we sort of say, oh, this is a community and draw a boundary, there's a lot of diversity within that community. Now, because immigrant origin communities in the United States often live together, they kind of clump because they may like to live together, they may share resources, they like to have grocery stores to buy food, etc. When that kind of clumping happens and we have a neighborhood, that is called an ethnic enclave. And an example of an ethnic enclave would be Chinatown in Manhattan. So some immigrant communities in the US are ethnic enclaves. They live in a neighborhood. That neighborhood is known for that community, but not all immigrant communities live in a place like that, in a physically defined community. So you may have a community that is living in an enclave and you may not. So in order to better understand immigrant communities and use research skills for building this understanding, one assignment is that each student in the class will collect what I'm calling a piece of evidence about your assigned community. And you have three choices for that. One is an interview. So the interview can be with someone from the community or someone who has extensively lived or worked with the community. We can think of someone like a teacher or staff member at a school, someone who works in a community based organization, or it could even be someone you know who lives in that community. Um, Another option that you can do is an observation, what I'm calling it, which is an ethnographic observation of a shared space in the community. So some examples of that would be that you can walk through an ethnic enclave, walk through a neighborhood. You could visit a restaurant or other public place like a community-based organization or religious place, or you could visit a home in that community. Now, even though it's an observation, you are encouraged to talk to people that you encounter in that place, but you don't have to do an extensive interview. The third option that you can do is a survey, which means you can design a short survey to give to community members or a group of students if those students are old enough and able to do a survey and you have enough students in a school that comes from that community. So those are the three options: an interview, an extensive interview that could last around 30 minutes or so, an observation of a place, or a survey. And you can choose whichever one of those pieces of evidence that you would like to focus on for your assignment. You don't have to do all three, you just have to choose one. So in terms of what you turn into me to be graded, you will turn in your evidence, and a reflection paper in which you will summarize and reflect on what you learned. So for the interview, you don't have to turn in a word for word transcript, which takes a very long time to type out. But you could turn in the questions that you asked, that you plan to ask. And then the reflection paper can summarize what the answers to those questions are. For the observation, you will need to turn in your reflection paper, which is going to be the summary of the notes on your observations that you collected, and also any visual evidence, such as photographs that you took during your observation. And for the survey, you would submit, the survey questions and results and your reflection paper. And this assignment is due November 12th, and it's an individual assignment you will work on yourself, which is due in about a month. So in addition to the evidence paper, you will also do a community school presentation. And for that assignment, that is a group assignment. So the grade that you get will be for the group, and all the group members will receive the same grade. And the group members what you have to do is kind of take on the role of being a community advocate, somebody who advocates for the community that you're studying. And you will create a PowerPoint in which you will imagine that you are presenting your findings, what you found out about this community, to a school, a focus school group. And you basically want to inform that school about important information about the community, things like demographics, their reasons for immigrating, any history that's important to know. And because this course is focused on language and culture, you will also need to include information about language use and anything important to know about culture, broadly defined. And then you will need to make recommendations to this school community, ways that the school is or can serve the particular needs of this community. So I prefer not recommendations like that are necessarily good for everybody or in general, but really those that are specifically targeted for the particular needs of this community. And in your presentations, you will need to include or integrate the evidence that you collected, the interviews, observations, and or surveys, references to course readings and ideas from the course, and also references to any outside research, which doesn't have to necessarily be academic. It could also be articles or other information that you found. And that presentation, that PowerPoint presentation, is due December 15th. You will upload it to Blackboard on December 15th and then comment on other presentations by Tuesday, December 17th. Then you will also turn in a reflection paper, which means you will write, I would say, around a 3 to 4 page reflection paper where you will summarize the information in the presentation. The paper should be in APA style and include at least 3 academic references, which means not from the course readings, not the textbook, 3 outside academic references. And that is due December 17th. So I'm not a big stickler on page amount for both the evidence and the reflection paper. In the past, I would say, papers that are shorter than 3 pages tend not to have enough information in them to accomplish the task. So I would say you have to have at least 3 pages. And I don't think you need to go too much over 5 for these assignments. But again, it's really more about conveying the kind of information that you need to in order to accomplish the task. So just to reiterate, this is worth a lot of your grade. The evidence, interview, observation, or survey is worth 15%, is graded individually. The actual PowerPoint presentation is 10% of your grade, and the reflection paper is 15% for a total of 40% of your grade. So for this week, I have created the groups and assigned each of you to an ethno-linguistic community for this project. And I did that based on information that you gave me about the communities that your school serves, so that you have access to a school and to a community that the school serves. You can find your group on Blackboard under the Groups tab. So if you're not familiar with the Groups tab, I believe you have to kind of scroll down the list, and it's kind of near where the email is. There should be a tab that says groups. When you click on groups, it will show you the groups that you have been assigned to. Now, if you have an issue with the group that I have assigned you to, please let me know as soon as possible by Sunday. It's not too late to switch things around, but you do need to settle on a group soon because you need to start working on your evidence assignment. And for this week, please find your group and introduce yourself to each other. You can post in that little groups tab about things about your focus school, and also begin to brainstorm about your evidence assignment. Do you think you're going to do an interview or observation? What kinds of questions do you want to explore? All of those kinds of things, please try to post by the next class. And again, if you have any questions or issues at all, please email me and I'm happy to talk to you.